and see how technologies can be employed to support coal exploration in the Mwenge Basin. We are putting some energy in that area, and this Geoexploration Directorate is looking at that with really looking at geotechnical study reports to look more importantly into the various clean coal technologies today. We expect them to publish some 2 reports as a target, and they did achieve that too. And similarly for the period coming, we want to continue spending some time to see how we can leverage the growth of our economy through possibility of employing clean coal technology as one of the green energy or other energy mix in our grid. But for this, we are looking at geotechnical study reports. We're going to be looking at geothermal resource license compliance reports, and we have given ourselves the targets on producing 1 major report in that area. In the current year we had promised to do 1, and we did achieve that. We're looking at the percentage completion of geoportal at 65%, achievement against 100%. Geothermal resource map and inventory, very important, Chair, to understand the mapping of our geothermal resources in the country, and we will also develop and update 1 report for that mapping, where today we have mapped approximately 10,000 megawatts of geothermal in our country. Percentage completion of geothermal strategy, at what is that base? What is that, 50? The target 2023-24 is 50, and the target for 2024-25 is 100 for that percentage, as a percentage completion of geothermal strategy. And Chair, I want to confirm with a lot of pride for Kenya that in this area of geothermal, Kenya today stand real tall amongst countries like the USA, Indonesia, Philippines, Japan, Iceland, and Kenya sits there in the 6th position. I think when we deliver the next geothermal fields in Mwenge, adding to about 105 megawatts, we should be the 6th best geothermal country in the world in terms of quantity, but in terms of percentage of energy mix in the grid, we are the best geothermal country, utilizing geothermal country in the world today. With regard to coal power, coal power generation, we're looking coal power generation information, cumulative percentage completion of coal strategy. Chair, we are at 60%, looking at that critical resource, because, Chair, you'll appreciate that the world over developed the economy is using natural resources. And so to the extent that we are able to look at the various coal strategies, we are then able to leverage and have a way forward on the reserves we have in our Mwenge Basin or discovered in our Mwenge Basin today. The percentage completion of framework for coal strategy stocks is at 20% today. The cumulative percentage of completion of Mwenge Basin Block A, B, C, and D, we have 4 concessions there, is at 65%. And we are looking at that percentage completion, 75% in the coming year, 90%, and we hope to have a final conclusive position of 100% by the year 2026-27 on the completion of those 4 blocks. Number of coal exploration reports. We've done one report, Chair, or we are planning to finish one report for this financial year under the current policy PPS frame. Percentage completion of survey, mapping, and repair of coal drills, holes in the basin. There have been some drilling which have been done, and we need to maintain them. And we have a number of 70 to ensure that we do survey, mapping, and repair of coal drilling wells that were done to be able to extract and test the coal pellets that were extracted. Data and information on nuclear fuel resource. At the ministry, the number of nuclear geotechnical study reports, we hope to finish one this year in line with the phase 2 of our program on nuclear geotechnical studies to ensure that by the year 2032, 2034, Kenya should be able to have in its energy mix nuclear power, which is green and a very, very good baseload, Chair. With respect to geothermal exploration, which is the responsibility of KenGen, power generation capacity, allow me, Chair, to have a more participative involvement of the team I've come to the House with, but let me just finish that. Power plant of 83.3 megawatts, Olkaria 1. I think this is the latest power plant which was done by Fuji and Marubeni, which is basically finished and dispatching power today to the grid. Why we see 99% is because we are going through the defect phase and paying for the small items to make sure that the power plants run well. But that power plant is on the grid today as we speak and supporting the dispatch of 83.3 megawatts to the national grid today. I think, allow me to just run through the KenGen. We do have percentage completion of Olkaria 1 rehabilitation, Chair. We did develop some 15 megawatts plants in the early 80s, 1981, 82, 1983. We developed the first 15 megawatts in 1981, second 15 megawatts 1982, and third plant of 15 megawatts in 1983. Those plants served us very well for how many years? Close to 40 years, Chair. And those plants today have come to end of life. The steam system is still very good. So KenGen did come to Cabinet to seek to rehabilitate those plants. So we are putting in 3 new plants of approximately 21 megawatts each to continue using the steam. So that gives us a very good promising performance on our steam system, which served for 40 years, and we are now putting new machines. So that is the project running. I'll talk to the third item of operating of Olkaria 1 and Olkaria 4. These are 2 power plants, each developing 140 megawatts. There are 2 power plants totaling to 280 megawatts. This operating, Chair, just for the purpose of all of us to appreciate, is the current generation is at 4 bar. The pressure in the system is 4 bar. We realize that if we raise the pressure to 10 bar, we need to change the turbines to run at 10 bar, and we can develop 10 megawatts additional for every plant. So we can move the plant from 75 megawatts to 85 megawatts. And that way we can move the 4 plants from 75 to 85 times 4, and that will give us an additional an additional 40 megawatts. We went to cabinet, this was approved. KenGen are currently at implementation phase, and that will support us to improve the performance of that Olkaria 1 and Olkaria 4 geothermal projects. They have the funding, they are running through that program, and the expectation, Chair, is that they should be 10% complete in terms of preparatory work, bringing in the various consultants, but funding and all the necessary financial work has been done, and we should be able to reach completion of that project sometimes in 2026-27 and have those two plants rated at 70 megawatts running. I keep mixing 70 megawatts and 75. They dispatch 70 megawatts, but I think they use 5 megawatts for parasitic, for maintaining the plants or use within the plant itself. I don't know whether, before I talk to the Geothermal Development Corporation programs, the PS, do you want to add anything on KenGen programs? Or because the CEO is here, Chair, maybe because this is a very good area we are proud of, what exactly do we need to do to continue this very good baseload support of geothermal, a very expensive development? Chair, I said very expensive because, you know, today to develop solar per megawatt, you do it at under $1 million per megawatt. Geothermal will still be anything between $3 million to $4 million per megawatt. But because it's a good base load, it's available all the time. We dispatch today geothermal at between 6.5 cents and 7 cents US. And it's renewable, and it is what is running this economy today. It's making our country attractive for investment, and we'll be pitching to raise manufacturing to GDP from the current 7% to maybe figures above 10% to bring in employment, bring in new foreign direct investment in manufacturing with climate change as we look for green steel, green products that will support environmental sustainability and the challenges we face today. PS or Peter and Jenga, do you want to add anything on these key programs that we have delivered or that we are working on critically to support our economy? One PS.
Maybe Waziri could have the PS. Then when the PS is done and when you are done with the presentation, we can have maybe each of the CEO maybe some few minutes to highlight their series and maybe some of those programs, so that can come at that particular point.
Thank you for that guidance, Chairman. So those are the three key areas we are working on with
So I would suggest maybe,
yeah,
as you had requested the PS,
yeah,
can come in, but for the CEO, maybe we'll have some time for the CEOs to comment broadly, a little broadly on that particular matter, and maybe a few others under their sagas, but you can still proceed to ask the PS to comment on whatever you had in mind.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Thank you for that guide. I thought we just, because there are three key projects, and I thought I have actually, I'll almost be sure they will have nothing much to add. I just thought maybe they might have one or two comments, because they are the major three areas where KenGen is currently working on. The finalization of the detailed defect phase of the 83.3 megawatts, which is currently dispatching, the rehabilitation of the three plants to raise the performance, not to raise the performance, we expired the turbines of Olkaria 1, Unit 1, 2, and 3, and we are bringing new turbines, Chair, just to replay that. That will have a better rating, and we will deliver about 63 megawatts. I think they are going to use a few of the megawatts as parasitic power to run to support the plants. and of course the operating of Olkaria 1 and Olkaria 1 Unit 4 and 5 and Olkaria 4 Unit 1 and 2 to be able to take a higher pressure steam and be able to give us a 40 megawatts, Chairman, is a lot of power. Bwana PS, did you want to add anything as allowed by the chair?
No, I think you can carry on. Maybe just on geothermal skills, because basically on the geothermal power plants, you have covered everything. The next one is geothermal skills, something that we anticipate to achieve by the year 2024-25, which is about 40% complete by this financial year.
Thank you, Bwana PS. With respect, Chair, to the geothermal development company, this is the company that many countries may not have had a geothermal development corporation or a body that risks or look at the new fields and maps the geothermal resource, drills the exploration wells, and be able to accelerate and remove the risk component, which is the most expensive part in geothermal development, and has helped us to accelerate the geothermal development in Kenya. I say this, Chair, because currently GDC is a Paka. This is where most of those 7 wells that have been drilled are. They are in Paka. I think we are at about 75 megawatts in Paka today. We've just drilled the first well, which is currently heating up in Silali. And those are the new fields that are currently being developed. So if you look at Kenya today, we have our Olkaria, we have Eburu, we have Menengai, we have Open Paka, and we are currently working on Silali. And that is those 7 wells that you see there, 6 are in Paka, with the best well, Chair, producing at 23, equivalent of 23 megawatts, very, very impressive. So the cumulative steam available for power generation today, as captured, as developed by GDC, is 274. Is that the correct column? Yes, 274 megawatts. And Chair, today, when I was minister in 2013-14, I used to visit the Treasury every day to ask for exchequer release for GDC, because they live from hand to mouth through support of the Treasury. But having developed that amount of steam and properly vested within GDC, today their A is supporting their revenue requirements, almost both for recurrent and to a very large extent development. So it's a very good self-sustaining company, having developed those exploration wells and some of the commercial wells, and commercialize them through, like what's happening now in Menengai. Chair, the power plant that we talked so much about in Soshan is today dispatching power to the grid, 35 megawatts. The Club Lake are on the ground constructing. I would like to invite the members to visit with us Menengai sometimes to see the construction, which has kicked off for Globe Lake, another 35 megawatts. And the third power plant will be breaking ground within the next 30 days to harness the full capacity of Menengai 105 megawatts concession license, which have been given out. So that really makes GDC today a company that relied fully on the exchequer yesterday. Today it is able to run its business without going to the exchequer. Additional megawatts of steam available for power generation, Chair, that has not been converted, that can be converted to energy today is shown in that next row, at 27 being the new wells which have been developed, and that can be moved to power, honorable members. Megawatts of power generated and added to the grid, that is the 35 megawatts that I talked of Soshan, in Menengai. They are now dispatching, and it is, interestingly, one of the best performing plants in the geothermal, I think because of the technology, secondary generation they use to utilize even the brine in terms of extracting the heat and turning it to power. With respect to hydropower, where we are also fairly strong, starting from Masinga, Kamburu, down Gitaru, all the way to Indaroma. Chair, we do have Kengen managing that facility, and we don't have any new power plants coming up in, no, sorry, we have Kogo. Kogo, we did go to cabinet and we signed Kogo. Kogo is in, is it, which constituency is this? Uriri. I have been there, Chair, to see that plant, and we have got funding. We'll be raising the generation of Kogo from currently about 2 megawatts, 2.6 is a very old plant. It was used by the colonialists to, it's a very interesting plant. It was developed for supporting the cleaning, the secondary cleaning of coal, gold. And then so it was very well developed, 2 small power plants, very well developed on River Kogo. And we are upgrading that to 8.6 megawatts. There are a few other small plants. So that's a very good plant. We'll be putting money there and supporting the community, schools, and the social investment programs that we run within that community. So we'll get an additional 10 megawatts on that program. Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, NUPEA, another very interesting, slow but sure parastatal in terms of what we need to do, Chair. The nuclear energy is not licensed within the country legal framework. It is licensed by the International Atomic Energy Agency. So unless you seriously prepare the people, seriously prepare the country to be able to uptake the nuclear energy for safe use, because nuclear can have many challenges, you don't get a license. So in terms of security concerns, awareness, training of the people, these are all managed under the legal framework and regulation as established by international energy agents. So it will take up to 10 years for a country to be nuclear ready in terms of power generation. And even as we speak today, I don't know whether Wabuyoba is in the house. We have Winnie, because Wabuyoba is running a workshop in Kilifi to prepare those communities and look at the technical preparation of the site that has been identified in Kilifi County. And we are working towards 2034 for this power plant and our East Coast Power Development Plan. Chair, on the nuclear energy skills, the number of persons trained on nuclear energy is important. We are doing 50 for this year, so there's a lot of training, because like I said, you don't get the license unless you prepare the country, you train the right people, and you do everything that must be done in a 3-phase program that you go through to get a license. The percentage of completion of knowledge management strategy, Chair, I don't know why there's a dash there, Bwana PS. There's nothing being done on knowledge management.
Yes, it was completed in the last financial year, so it's actually under implementation.
So it's under implementation. It's finished, it's under implementation. Thank you, Winnie. Policy, under policy and legal regulatory framework for the nuclear power energy, percentage of completion of proposed amendments to streamline the implementation of the nuclear regulatory framework, Chair. We are looking, it's a percentage measure. We are looking at reaching 45% in the current financial year, working to 60% in the next financial year, 85%, and finishing in the year 26-27 that work on amendments and streamlining the regulatory framework. With respect to percentage completion of development of the 4 regulations required to operationalize Nuclear Regulatory Act 2019, we are reaching 90% and will finish by next financial year. Number of national nuclear policy, we will finish that in the next financial year. And percentage of accession to 4 nuclear safety convention, those are the percentages. We expect to reach 50% in this financial year. Public education, Chair, awareness and nuclear power program. Like I say, the CEO is in Kilifi at the moment doing some of that work on the level of public awareness and education on the nuclear program. We expect to reach 60% as a measure of the education and public awareness in this financial year. On information centers on nuclear science and technology, we expect a percentage completion of public information centers in Nairobi and Kilifi to reach 50%. Conservation and maintenance of environment within the nuclear power and development sites, we expect to reach 80% as a percentage of implementation of strategy on environment, social assessment study, Chair and honorable members. Nuclear power plant site, percentage completion of site-specific environmental impact assessment, we expect to reach 80% on that site. We have a site in Kilifi. We are just working with the Ministry of Land on 1 or 2 challenges of squatters, but the site is available. Percentage of completion of site characterization, Chair, we expect to reach 80%. And completion of nuclear power plant site acquisition, we are working with the Ministry of Lands and the National Land Commission. Chair, we have the site, like I mentioned, there's a small squatter challenge, and we expect to reach 30%. On nuclear reactor technology, percentage of reactor technology assessment and vendor readiness report, we are at 60%, and we are at 100%, sorry. We expect to complete that in this current financial year. With respect to percentage completion of nuclear research reactor project, we should touch 30% by the close of the financial year. Chair, that is the work that we are doing in the nuclear sector. It sounds very theoretical, but unless all this work is done, we do know the challenge. Safe use of nuclear technology is very important, otherwise we will not be able to get license from the International Atomic Energy Agency because it is very important that everybody is prepared, including the population, where the country population, not just where the plant will be put, but the entire population in terms of understanding the safe aspects, given the challenges that if there was an accident in this area, it's quite devastating. Chair, Ketraco, I think we are doing well, Chair. An area where, Chair, let me say here that the weakest link today in the energy sector being fully unbundled. You know, we have in the energy sector in many countries, they run one organization that handles generation, transmission, and the distribution. In Kenya, the generator is separate from the transmission company and separate from the offtake and the retail. In Kenya today, having fully unbundled the energy sector, I think we are doing some little work under the restructuring of the Kenya Power balance sheet, and the green resilient funding we are getting from World Bank of about 600 million, 612 million. Ketraco, whereas being one of the unbundled providers of transmission network in the energy sector, is fully funded by government. It doesn't have its own balance sheet. And so when we don't fund Ketraco, and we are able to generate power with the balance sheet of KenGen and the balance sheets of the IPPs, the independent power producers, and we are able to sell the power, albeit the challenges, and given the restructuring programs we are running with Kenya Power to reduce the power losses, we are seeking to move some of the assets which belong to transmission from Kenya Power in restructuring its balance sheet to Ketraco, move the transmission networks from Kenya Power to Ketraco in a restructuring framework where Kenya Power debt can be swapped in the on-land loans and things like that, debt owed in respect to rural electrification schemes. So there's a whole program with deliverable linked indicators, not so much reward, but payment by World Bank on achievement of those delivery-linked targets. Ketraco still presents a challenge in being funded adequately to be able to evacuate the power to the various load centers and remove the challenges that we've seen that occasion some of the national blackouts in terms of constraints of transmission, where we are being forced to overload a line to ensure that our window is lit in the evening. And when we don't have to overload the line, we have to almost load shed to make sure that the national grid is supplying power to the country, while a few pockets of areas where there are transmission constrained are switched off for 2 or 3 hours in the evenings to remove the load, and hence curtail the challenge that we have seen occasionally when we had a national blackout. So, Chair, this is an area where we have to strengthen the funding, Ketraco, very important. But we are working on the initiative of PPP, Chair, and we are giving some of the lines that must be accelerated or developed in an accelerated way through PPP to support the government crowded balance, or rather headroom, in terms of supporting Ketraco to be able to move power to the rest of the country. So I just need to say that, Chair, because it's very important that to be able to get power to some of the underserved areas, we must fund Ketraco, but more importantly, accelerate some of the PPP programs to ensure that we are able to close some of we have 7 major programs under PPP, which will deliver power to some of the countries that will then support government and funding shortfalls to Ketraco to ensure that we are able to transmit power. And so in this area, Chair, we're looking at kilometers of transmission lines constructed. On that particular item, we are looking at Ketraco under government-funded support, constructing some 154 kilometers additional of 132 and 220 kV lines. Number of substations, we expect them to bring in an additional 5 substations in the current financial year. There are specific substations, they are in the schedules within the reports that we have circulated this morning and that we have. With respect to Electrical Power Development Directorate, Chair, the National Technical Specifications and Standardization Report, the percentage completion of the National Technical Specification and Standardization Report is going to be completed within this current financial year to 100%. With respect to completion of the Power Generation and Transmission Master Plan, Chair, they should be at 40%, and they will complete that by the next financial year. This becomes very important, Chair, because a lot of the programs going forward that will be run by Ketraco will be done under PPP, and we need to really finalize this to be able to also dimension the issues of getting a very clear framework for the PPP or private sector investors. The way we do run IPPs, we need to have private investors in developing the transmission networks for us. Percentage of the wheeling charge study, we should finish that. I think this has not been updated, Mr. Mativo. It should be, you say it will be at 30%, but in the last 1-2 weeks, we are going to accelerate that to complete within the current financial year to 100%. Because we need to complete that chair to be able to bring in the PPP concessioners to support us. Completion of the distributed energy study, we will complete it by next year. This year we'll do 20%. We're just starting, Chair. Completion of the wind resource assessment and mapping study. We should be able to, we started last year, we should be at 50% by close of this financial year and finish by next year and be able to have this wind resource assessment and mapping study. Number of customers, satisfaction study reports. I'm just trying to, let me see. That's under Ketrako. Yeah, that's why that's under electrical, that's under the ministry. Okay. I just wanted to be clear about, these are all under the ministry, under the directorate, one directorate in the ministry. Number of customers study, the number of reports on technical compliance, the power generation, transmission, and will be, those are the one I want to lay more emphasis on, Chairman, is a report that has just been placed on my desk on the completion of the battery storage study, and we are having some grants to do some battery storage through KenGen. So we'll be looking at that report to see the best placement of that battery storage. With battery storage, Chair, you know the biggest challenge today in renewable is that, like today, it's not visible whether it's cloudy outside from the house. But when it's cloudy, all our solar don't generate. And when the sun comes, it suddenly goes. So it's so intermittent, and you cannot run an industry. You can imagine when power flickers, we make phone calls to the National Control Center to find out, are we safe? What is happening? Is power stable? With solar, it will be up and down, up and down. With wind, similarly. When it rains for wind, the wind suddenly disappears and it collapses. So, but with battery storage, Chair, as an electrical engineer, you will know that with inverters and batteries, you would move to DC and move back to AC through the inverter. And because everything will be coming through the battery, even when the clouds go, the cloud covers the solar energy from the thermal, from the sun, you will draw from the battery through the converter. And before you deplete your battery, in 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 1 hour, the sun is back and it is charging the batteries. And that way, we then have a fairly smooth. So we've completed that study, Chairman, and it's exciting that we should now be able, the technologies in battery development, pricing has really come down. And any power plant today that we will be licensing as an IPP should come with at least some 5-hour battery storage. And we've got indicative pricing of solar power plants, wind power plants, gazetted by EPRA. And with battery storage, it can be very exciting that the wind and solar, which is very intermittent today, can be the base load of tomorrow, given the pricing and the available technologies in this space. So that report has been completed, Chairman. I took time to talk about it because I think we are then ready to go with the battery storage to support the intermittence. you do know that the 300 megawatts power from Leongalani is the biggest power plant in Africa today. And as we seek to develop more wind and more solar, it's great now that we have a clear position and way forward on battery storage, given the prices also coming down. With respect to Kenya Power, and I think Chairman, I think we are doing well. Power connectivity, this is Kenya Power and Lighting. We are looking at performance in terms of kilometers of distribution. They do the distribution network, the last mile network with 33 kV lines, and we expect them to build some 250 kilometers of distribution networks in terms of planning for this year. Number of additional distributions, substations to support those lines to be able to ensure they manage the power losses, because when you do very long lines, the losses are significant. We've given Kenya Power in the next 3 years to bring down their losses, and of course Ketraco to bring down their losses from the high of 22% to 16% under what I mentioned earlier as DLIs, the performance-based indicators, which we've signed with World Bank, and which will enable us to unlock some of that $616 million US, which have been signed by our government to support KPLC, and to a very good extent support a bit of voltage management in Ketraco and a bit of Kengen in battery storage. In fact, a lot of the battery storage is supported by that facility. So, Chair, we will be doing 10 base stations this year, 10 substations, additional distribution substations to support the power losses and support those number of kilometers of lines. With respect to power connectivity, Chair, we expect to connect some new customers in those numbers, 350,000. We wish we could accelerate the connectivity, and these are areas where we'll spend more time together to see how we can accelerate connection of our Kenyans to the grid. Number of street lights, we expect to put some 5,000 street lights in the current financial year. And those are that is what we've provided for Kenya Power. With respect to REREC, power connectivity, REREC is another body that we need to talk much about, because it's what Chairman brought Kenya from an access rate of 23% to a high of 75% today. When REREC came into play, with particularly the last mile program, we had a population connected to the grid of 2,300,000 customers. Today we are at about 9.5, going close to 10 million, courtesy of this program that is supported by government to ensure that Kenyans are connected to power. It's more of what you'd call a social obligation to really give power to the rural areas and move more activity, improve the quality of life of our local population where we live. What is REREC doing with respect to number of addition to public facilities connected to the electricity today? Chairman, I had a breakfast meeting this morning, and we are unhappy that whereas there should be no public institution of public facility which is not connected today. So whereas we have given those numbers, we did, Dr. Rose Mukalama is in the house. She only did 300 public institutions in the last financial year. Chair, that is not acceptable. We need to finish all the public institutions. There should be no school, there should be no dispensary today not connected to power. Even as leaders in the House, as we compete because of the very popular last mile program to collect the population, there should honestly be no school, there should be no hospital. You can imagine I'm connecting power to my house when there's a dispensary which is not connected. So we need to work together to endeavor that we support this program, we fund this program to ensure that all public institutions are connected to electricity. I give myself and the ministry a max of 2 years. If we can provide funding, we can connect all those 4,000 schools today which are not connected to power within the next 2 years. They are the nuclear centers where people live around, and then when we maximize, we still connect the population. So, Chair, I would like to reiterate that even as I indicate that we are working at connecting 707 institutions to power, when we get to the detailed working of balancing the budget, we would want to see how we can complete connecting all public institutions in Kenya to power within the next 2 years, Chairman and honorable members. Number of additional transformers installed in constituencies, we are targeting in the current financial year to do an addition of 258. Under exchequer release, you do know that we do have World Bank programs, EU program, EIB program, the French AFD program, we have Saudi Fund, and we'll do more programs with Kenya Power and together with REREC. Chairman, this is an area, there is a program we are working with the Polish government to bring a retiring OECD facility of about $200 million that will help us to accelerate the last mile program and ensure that we connect more Kenyans to the grid on the last mile program, because that is a very important program, as has been articulated by the members of parliament. Number of primary schools on solar system maintenance. Chairman, when we connect solar, they have to be maintained. If they are not maintained, batteries go down, and it then poses a problem where there is a connection today and there is no connection tomorrow because the batteries have gone down, or the solar panels have to be thoroughly cleaned, the contacts, the connectors have to be properly checked, and we have targeted to maintain some 150 solar systems within the current financial year. Number of new hybrid mini-grids, we are working on 7. Number of solar PV system installed in educational institutions, this is basically in the off-grid areas, we are working to do 80. This is a complete solution. When we install, we do the full wiring and so on and so forth. Percentage of completion of electrification of Galana Bulalo, a very important food security program. Chairman, out of, I think, in Malindi, Weru, there is a Malindi solar plant, which is currently run by Globlek. We are building a line, is it a 66 kV line? 66 kV line to deliver 58 kilometers to deliver power to Galana Bulalo. This is the scheme where we are targeting hundreds, a few, I think we've done 50,000. This can be better talked by Agriculture Minister. Currently, the irrigation is supported by diesel generators, which makes irrigation very expensive. So we are planning to complete that line by the next financial year. Chairman, leadership wants us to complete in this financial year. So we'll be talking to REREC, we'll be looking at how we can rebalance our budget and see whether we can complete in the current financial year so that we can address the concern of food security with fairly competitive cost of irrigation. Number of standalone solar systems installed in health facilities, Chairman. We don't have any for this year. We plan 25 for the next financial year. Number of e-mobility charging stations, Chairman, this is an area that will grow big. We've done some simulations, and the current growth of demand at about 5.8 of energy to GDP could easily double when we grow e-mobility. We currently grow the energy to the grid at about 150 megawatts per year. When we grow e-mobility, Chair, in the next 1-2 years, the power requirement annually to the grid will be 300, it will double, it will go to about 300 megawatts. Renewable Energy Directorate within the ministry. PS, I want to take a bottle of water. Do you want to help me, Chairman?
Thank you, CS. You have taken us through the main issues. I take over on the Renewable Energy Directorate. This is where we are looking at alternative energy technologies, and the main outcome that we intend to achieve after employing these technologies is we increase access to clean cooking. Remember, we do have a target of having clean cooking by the year 2028. Renewable energy technologies adopted, number of renewable energy technologies promoted, we have 6. Mainly that is e-cooking, we have biogas, we have biomass, we have promoting e-cooking on its own. So those 6 projects we continue pushing them across the entire country in order for us to reduce the carbon emissions and reduce the carbon footprint, and also bring on board dignity to our women wherever they are. On sustainable hydropower dams, water catchment areas and water towers, this is on the reforestation. We do have a target of having 350 hectares that we are going to rehabilitate in this financial year. The next financial year, 24-25, are another 350, of which in each financial year we intend to rehabilitate and plant 100,000 tree seedlings. That is our State Department for Energy, under the accelerated program which the President has launched. And we are doing this, and also our sagas as well, so that we can achieve our target of that 1 million tree seedlings in the next 10 years. Power Connect, we intend now to help each county develop their action plans, and we do have a target of 15 in this financial year. Last year we had a target of 15, but we didn't manage because of 1 or 2 reasons, but this financial year we are hopeful we are going to achieve our target. The next 24-25, another 5. 25-26, another 5, and 26-27, another 5. Energy skills and human resource capacity building, that is the number of counties capacity built on energy planning. I did mention this on the INEP program. We had a target of 44 or 47, we achieved 44, and now we have a target of getting to 47, and once we achieve that target, then we shall have adequately prepared the counties, and so therefore we no longer need to ensure that they have the energy skills. Power generation, that is the number of green hydrogen strategic roadmap pilot units. We did launch the country's framework on green hydrogen, and because this is a new technology that we are hoping to embrace, we shall be able to continue with the program as well. Clean cooking solutions, that is the number of clean cooking strategies developed. We had a target of 1 last financial year. We didn't achieve, but we have a target of 1 this financial year and the next financial year. Number of promotional messages developed and delivered to the target group. We have a target of 5 this financial year and a target and 12 the next financial year. REREC, that is New Energy Centers, Construction and Operationalization. That is the number of new energy centers opened and operationalized. We have a target of 1 this financial year and next financial year 1, 25-26 2, and 26-27 1. Program 4, that is the General Administration, Planning and Support. This is something that is done under the Ministry Headquarters, Department of Administration and Planning, and Support Services. This is to ensure efficient service delivery. Data Center and ICT connectivity at Kawi House. The That's the percentage of completion of data center installation of ICT equipment, ICT network, and Kawi software. We have that target of 50, 65, 70, 80, 90, and eventually reaching the 100% mark. That's the percentage of development of an energy sector integrated information management system. We didn't have a target. We had a target of achieving 10 last financial year. We didn't achieve, but this financial year we are having a target 25, another target of 50 the next financial year, another target of 75, and 100% target by the year 2026, 2027. Integrated National Energy Plan, Framework and Regulations. I didn't mention about it. It is already done. We are just awaiting a few, two, three issues. Then our Cabinet Secretary is going to sign it off. Monitoring and evaluation of energy subsector programs and projects. That is a number of monitoring and evaluation reports. We had a target of doing 4 of them. We did achieve the target, and we intend to continue on that pace continuously. Refurbishment of Kawi House complex, that's the percentage of refurbishment. We intend, with funds availability, to ensure that the building is kept up to standards and effectively refurbished. E-mobility demonstration charging center, that's the percentage of completion of the e-mobility charging demonstration center. We do have a target in the next financial year of having 30 of them, then 30%, then we intend to have 70% by the year 2025-26, and eventually 100% of the target by the year 26-27. Kawi House parking, that is the percentage of completion of the Kawi complex parking. Again, we didn't have we had a target last financial year, but we didn't manage. But we have a target of 20, 40, 60, and 100% in the next financial year. Thank you, Chair. Waziri, do I continue? Or
So I was asking, it looks like we're just earning salary and we are not doing anything. But that is not true. We have done so much, and the absorption, the payment is only, the absorption is measured on payments. So I think when we see more exchequer release, we should see the true performance, not being a measure of the absorption, because work has been done but payment has not been made. 4B, actual outputs achieved relative to approved targets in the financial year, Chair. We are looking at number of programs here, delivery units, key outputs and performances, and looking at annual, half year, and the variance. And on power generation, in geothermal development through KenGen, we did indicate that we had that Olkaria 1 Unit 6, that is dispatching 83.3 megawatts today, and that is basically complete. We asked why is there 1%, and it is the defects period. On the remarks, we see construction and commissioning completed and generating to the national grid. Management of defects liability period is ongoing. Contractors addressing any challenges that could be there. We don't want to dwell much about, because I spent a lot of time talking to where that 51 megawatts is coming from. The Olkaria rehabilitation, these are the 3 power plants that I talked so much about to really continue using the steam because we need to we are putting new turbines. The 40 megawatts, which is coming from operating, improving the pressure so that the turbines can take a higher pressure, and we get 10 megawatts in addition for every of those turbines, 4 turbines in Olkaria 1 and Olkaria 4. We also did look at, there is a new initiative which KenGen is developing in what do you call it? Is it a TVET, an equivalent of TVET for the energy sector? We are building a geothermal training center in Olkaria. We think...
More Radio, 88.2 FM. We are in charge.